Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel, and on today's episode of Garage Noise, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about straightening a dent in your vehicle. There's going to be a lot of information in this video, and I'm going to show you different techniques to straightening this dent, so let's get started. And if this is your first time here and you want to learn more about your vehicle, auto body and paint repair, start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking that bell so you don't miss anything. So the first thing we need to do is we have some damage here on the lens and the lens housing. So we need to replace those, we need to remove those so we can have access to this dent. Okay, now that we have the parts removed, there's a couple different ways we can go about this. We need to get this dent out somehow. Before we start grinding any paint off, what we need to do is push this dent out either from the back side or pull it out from the front side. I'm gonna elect to pull it out with some body repair tools. You may not have those at home. If you don't have those at home, if you can access behind it and push this dent out, then that's going to work for you. So we have a hole here that we can access with this dent repair tool or some kind of pry bar, and you could put it in there and slide it up and push this dent out. Now this metal is pretty thick on this one. Most cars are not this thick, but a truck, it has some thicker metal on it. So this tool is not going to be strong enough. But I do have this pry bar here. Loosen up the fender liner. There's just a couple screws here, and get behind there and push it out that way. The key component is you need to access behind the fender so you can push this dent out. You might be able to go in through under the hood, you might be able to go in through the front, you might be able to go in through the wheel well. And if you remove the fender liner, you can access it through the wheel well. What we're gonna do is use a dent removal tool called a stud gun, and we're gonna weld studs on here, and then we have a tool that we can pull this out. So let's grind this down to bare metal. Wherever this dent is, we're gonna need to grind it down to bare metal so we can stud weld some studs on here and pull this out. Now we're gonna weld some studs right on this body line here and try and get that body line pulled out while we tap down on this eyebrow here and knock that back into place. So this is the stud welder here. We just put this in the tip. I'm gonna try the G90 dent puller on this dent. The stud welder is not working very well. A copper tip here that you weld on, and then you have a slide hammer that you slide hammer the dent out. If you haven't seen the video for this, check it out. It'll be in the description or a link at the end of this video. So I hammered the eyebrow down. That came out quite a bit, that body line there. So now we're gonna pull this dent out using the stud puller or the G90E dent puller. Okay, so now that we got the dent all pulled out with the dent pullers, it's fairly level. I left it in just a little bit so when we put a coat of body filler on there, we can block it flat. So we're gonna go ahead and 80 grit around this painted area so the body filler sticks properly if we go outside this metal. Then we'll lay a coat of 3N premium body filler on it and block sand it. Let's do it. So we sanded this down and we've sanded out the hard edge. We feather edged it out, which means we gradually sanded it so there's no hard edge and it's a gradual transition into the paint. And we're gonna go ahead and fill it now with some body filler. Mix up some body filler. Got some 3M Premium. So that's good for a first coat. Now we're gonna let it cure. We may cheese grate it or sand it with some 36 or some 80 grit sandpaper, but let's let it cure and then we'll sand it. So now I'm gonna run over this with my DA with some 80 grit on it and see if we can flatten it out, and we'll take a look at it and see if we need any more filler. Okay, so this is just a time saver using a DA and some 80 grit to knock it down. It takes a little bit longer to block it, but now in order to get it straight, we need to use the block and some 80 grit. Okay, I want to spray some guide coat on here just so you can see where we're at in the blocking process. I can tell here, but it's hard to tell on camera, so I just want to have some guide coat on there so you can see what's going on. Okay, now this dent is feeling really good. As you can see, there's just a low spot in the center there. This is a little bit high here, not a whole lot. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put a coat of icing over it, the poly putty, and that's gonna fill any of these deeper scratches, and it's also gonna just give me a nice little skim coat to fill that low spot. A couple little pinholes here, and we'll be able to block it with 180 and get it prepped out for primer. Okay, so now we're gonna mix up a little icing, get this smoothed out so we can finish getting it straight. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. This is perfectly straight, very good. It still has some 180 grit scratches in it, which we need to remove before we primer. So we've got the body line here very nice. Even in here, it's very nice where it's not gonna be seen, but we need to sand these 180 grit scratches out with 320. So we're gonna get a piece of 320. I'll probably do a combination of blocking and using a DA to feather edge out this paint edge here and get that all smooth and take care of these scratches. I'll probably use a DA and get that smoothed out, and then we'll get this ready for primer. Okay, so we'll spray a little bit of the self-etching. This is for bare metal, promotes adhesion. Just to get that covered. Oh, I put it on a little heavy there. Okay, now let's run over this with some 600 grit paper. We're going to use the interface pad. Okay, now I'm gonna wipe it down with some prep solvent to clean it, tape it up, and let's spray it with some 2K urethane primer. So check it out, the dent is totally gone. It's primered with 2K primer, ready to be block sanded. And as you can see, it's really straight. It looks really good. So listen up, if you want to increase your skill and build your knowledge, start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. And if you need more information about paint and body repair, check out these 2 videos. And on the next episode of Garage Noise, we're going to continue on the Chevy paint project, and we're also going to paint this fender, so stay tuned.